MDMYF, blessings, we're coming live. We're here for Sunday recap. My name is Michael Espinoza, very new face. Many of you haven't seen me at all. We're here with Chris and with Pastor Nick. Very glad to be here. Very new road that I'm on, very happy to be here.
Yo, what's up MDMYF family? We're so happy to be here at Sunday recap of the series that we've been in. Sometimes I'm toxic.
Right.
So, what have you thought about the series so far?
And a lot of the things that people don't know about is before this man delivers a lot of his sermons, I kind of get a little bit of a preview before we start. I like to ask him questions where exactly it's coming from. This one was actually a very interesting message that you came across. For a lot of you that don't know, this man right here, I've known him for almost all my life. He's married to my sister, so
yeah. So let me tell you a little quick thing about Mike. Mike, he was toxic. He's a toxic brother.
Very.
Whenever I was first dating his sister, I know he probably remembers Chris, but I would walk her home. I would carry her bag. And I don't want to spend time with her. You know, I just wanted to be with her. But somehow Michael got into. Remember I talked about patterns a couple weeks ago in prison. He knew my pattern. So he was like, they're gonna be here at 4:45. He has soccer until 4:10. It takes him 35 minutes to walk. I'm gonna be outside at 4:45 p.m. And there he was with a soccer ball in his hip. He's saying, and I was tired. I just wanted to be with my girlfriend. And he's like, hey, Nick, let's play soccer. So there we go. Being toxic, I had to play soccer with Mike. So yeah.
Nick being smart, he knew that if he could win the little brother over, well, he's all in with
I got the rest done.
And everything's been great with him. We've been happy to have him part of our family, and I've been very, very happy to be a part of his as well. Going to Sunday service, honestly, a lot of you that don't know, or if you haven't had a chance to come in person for the service, I know there's a lot of people that watch online. Service is amazing. The worship is something else. I've been able to see from almost the inception of Mundo de Milagro y Fe, with how just incredibly progressive it's been with their worship. Sorry, I think there's someone there at the front door right there. Wasn't able to take that out. So, one of the songs that you guys performed was Abba Padre, one that I haven't seen in a while, but it was a very, very nice.
It's our very own. We wrote it, I remember Pastor Joe,
right.
We wrote it, I think it was in 2013. How old were you?
I was 13, exactly.
Oh, because you were born in 2000. Right. You have that privilege. But yeah.
Right.
But yeah. And my dad was talking about, you know, the love of the Father and being embraced by the Father and what it meant to have the identity of a son. And so Pastor Joe wrote that song 13.
That was one of the original songs.
2013, so that was 10 years ago. A decade ago.
One of the original songs.
Original song.
Nice.
Original song. Emmy wrote the melody of it.
Right.
So everything you hear vocally is him. I wrote the bridge of it, and he wrote, I guess the musicality of it. I did the music of it.
That's actually a big thing that a lot of people fail to realize, is that at heart, his family is a true worshiper. From Prophet to his sons Nick and Emmy. I mean, I've seen them very talented, musically gifted, but spiritually gained a lot.
I mean,
right?
Everything needs to stem from them.
Right.
I think it's illegitimate to speak of a God. Worship is all about nearness. It's about closeness. It's about being close and knowing Him intimately. So everything needs to stem from there. The preaching needs to stem from there.
Right.
Prophecy needs to stem from there. You need to know who you're talking about.
Right.
You can't, otherwise you're just be talking about a theoretical God, which is okay too, and you can get your point across.
Right.
But it's so much more powerful whenever you actually know the person.
And I think it goes without saying, true worshipers attract true worshipers.
Exactly.
That's really where it is.
You attract who you are.
A lot of people come in and they're very surprised by how intimate the worship is here, and it really is true worship. It comes from the heart.
One of the craziest things, I'm just thinking about it right now, I was looking, because we were looking through the pictures for what's been going on Sundays, and I saw pictures of like kids worshiping, you know, those things, man. Even Chris's brother, you know, he's fairly new to the church, or to the ways of the Lord, I guess you would say, and, you know, to every once in a while you'll see camera one just we go crazy, and that's because we're in the middle of worship and the presence is here, and he just falls down, and that's the culture that we've tried to create in this house of freedom.
That's a big thing. One thing that I've told you before also is that not that I've been to many churches, but I've been to a couple, and I've always brought it to you. I've said the difference here is that we see more youth. A lot more youth rising, and a lot of other churches. I you know, it's not to speak bad about other churches. I won't say specifically, but there was one where I went, and one of the main things that I said that I noticed, and I'm sure many others noticed as well, was that when you entered in, it's everybody's at a standstill. Everybody's not really. They're worshiping. It's worship. It's there, but it's not in depth. It's not personal.
Yeah.
And so here, one thing that I've always loved is that everybody comes. And nobody's focused on what the person next to them is doing. That's a major thing, because when you're there, it's your intimacy, your time with the one and only your Savior, right? And so, something very big.
And so, well, if I were to tell you, I've seen it for many years. This generation is completely fed up, again, with theory. Whenever you just talk about theory and you talk about someone that you don't really know, that's what religion is. I mean, look at the Middle East right now. Just the conflict that's going on right now. It's just a religion.
That's a topic we've touched on a lot. How they're spiritual brothers, how we all come from, put it this way, we're all, and I've talked to a friend of mine. He's from Morocco, so he's Muslim, right? A lot of friends. We bicker and argue a lot, but at the end of the day, we get together and we talk real ideas. And one of those was that I've told him, so he was asking me, I don't understand why you're supporting Israel. I don't understand why this. And I said, I can't really speak on one more than the other. All I can say is that I flipped the script on him and I told him, you guys are brothers, right? This is a brotherhood, and the third child, which I look at it as the stepchild, are the Christians, because he was attacking a lot, and he was getting a little bit defensive. The Gentiles, exactly. And I told him, it's like you guys are the two sons, and we're the illegitimate children, and one is jealous over the other. Why Israel's getting more support, and then Israel's mad why the world's supporting Palestine, and you know, it's a lot of confusion, a lot of division there.
If you think about it, I mean, even what I want to say. I guess you can say Israel did invade. They did. If you look historically, I mean,
the settlements from 1920.
If you look at it historically, they did.
Right.
So,
but it was a lot.
But it was promised by God.
Historical, right?
As a matter of fact, God told them just the first land that they conquered, Canaan.
Right.
He says, "Hey, the land is inhabited by giants. It has its own people. But don't worry about it, because I've given you the land.
Right.
It's yours." So the Muslims, they hold on to that. Well, no, they invade their home. Yeah, I get it. It's a religion war. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And so this is where I kind of opened up on Sunday, and I was talking about it. I was like, I used to look at the Bible like a book of rules. I don't know if you remember that. I used to. I was like, I don't want to sin. Do not sin. Do not this. Do not that. It's just a book of rules. That's how I used to see it.
Right.
When you start getting closer, and that's why it stems off and it connects with what you're talking about with worship, how this is a house of worship, how everything that's going on, intimacy. As I started getting closer to God, I started realizing that it was less a book of rules, and it was more a love story. And that's where we kind of pull on for the story that we opened up on Hosea chapter 1.
That's a big, and that was an interesting story, one that I didn't, and one that I hope we can go more in depth. Just like how you said the Bible really being a true love story in its entirety, each story is a different version of the same love that he has, just from a different angle, a different perspective. And in this one, we talk about Hosea. Yeah. What brought you to take Hosea's perspective on this specific?
Remember, we've been in this relationship,
right?
So God told me, there's really prophetic people struggling in their relationships. There's really anointed people. They don't know how to be relatable to people. They don't know how to relate. It's one of the things that Jesus said. They asked him once, they're like, what is the biggest commandment? What is the greatest of these commandments?
The main one.
Well, they know. They're asking him, but they know the answer. The answer is, you shall have no other gods but your God, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your might. And Jesus is like, that's correct. That is the biggest one. You should have a relationship with God. But right there, he stops. He's like, but equal to that, equally as great to that commandment is love your brother. Relate yourself with your brother.
Have empathy towards your neighbor.
Have empathy. If you are really good at relating to God, but you suck at relating to your brother, that's what Paul says. John. He's like, if a person tells you that they love God, but they hate their brother, they're a liar.
And that's something that which each generation has been dissolving little by little. It's that empathy for your brother, for your neighbor, for your sister, for that person that, I've always said it this way, I've read it this way actually, is that every person that you see walk through the street, misery is waiting for them, right? Loss and betrayal is waiting for them. And so the question to yourself is, why should you add more on top of that to what they already have coming towards them? Why not make it better? And even though you're just a person, coming with a hug or a word from God, or even just using your tongue for blessing instead of a curse, can change a person's world entirely.
Exactly. So we struggle with relationships, right? In general, just with people. So there's levels of relationships. Obviously, that level of relationship with God. There's a level of relationship amongst brothers, amongst brethren, I guess you can say. To sound so sophisticated, but it's like brethren, and then there's a level of relationship like boyfriend, girlfriend, friends, marriage.
That's why throughout history you've seen religions, whether it's Judaism or Islam or Christianity, come together. What is it in its entirety? What is it? It's communities coming together. Some could say to better themselves, but really it's for submission and worship towards whom they believe is the creator, right? And it's a little bit difficult to get into Islam and Judaism and, Christ is Lord. You say that and, you'll have a lot of arguments. We won't get into that. That's a little bit too much to get into. But going back to Hosea, I did see how one of the things that you said on Sunday was how for 20 years, Hosea was telling the people of Israel to not turn from him, to rely on him. And then you said 20 years later, they're buddy-buddy with Assyria.
Well, for 20 years, they were buddy-buddy with Assyria. And then what happened was after those 20, Prophet Hosea prophesied 20 years before they got taken into captivity by Assyria.
Right.
So what really bothered the heart of God, going back to the heart thing, less a book of rules. One of the things that made me cry when I was writing it, and this is God talking, to what we've made, church, or if we've made God made us to to have a relationship with Him. Right. That's why in the beginning He created Eden. He didn't want nothing else but a relationship with us. Right. That was it. That was it for Him.
That's actually how you ended your sermon, going back, because that's it's the root of all. That's the root of all. That's the reason Jesus came. Right.
To give us that, to reinstate that relationship.
Right.
So, obviously, back to the Hosea thing. Right. What happened? Israel had this tendency. If you look at the Bible, look at the book of Judges, the whole book of Judges, even from the opening chapter, you'll see that Judges 1, it says, and the people of Israel did what was wrong before the eyes of the Lord, so the Lord strengthened their enemy.
Right. And time again too.
Yeah, they got taken captive by Moab. They got taken captive by the Amorites. They got taken captive by Babylon. They got taken captive by a whole bunch of them, a whole bunch of enemies of the people of God.
You would think after the first, second, or even third time they would get it.
Yeah.
Even until now. Even until now, right? There's another war.
We sometimes would seem like we would get it, but we don't. And so what happens is that, in this specific story, God tells them, don't ally with Assyria. Don't. They're going to take you captive. What do? They rather have political favors and ties.
Security.
Natural security.
Right.
Instead of obeying the voice of their beloved, the one that really cares for them, they got, you know, they started prostituting. This sounds horrible, but this is exactly what they started doing. They started prostituting their affection now for a man, for a nation, for a foreign nation, instead of listening to the voice of their beloved. And I think that's a big mistake we all make until today.
And that gives us a representation of Gomer. You want to tell us about that story?
Yeah. So what happens is there's prophets, there's different types of prophets. I spoke about
major and minor.
Minors, and at least in the Bible, I guess you could say in the canon, they divided them between major prophets, minor prophets. Right. Not because one was greater than the other, it's just, or the major prophets were greater than the minors. It's just that the minors wrote less. Right. There's less of their prophecies, or their prophecies are more concise.
But nothing of less value.
Nothing of less value. It's just, they as a matter of fact, if you look at the critical times the minor prophets prophesied, they're really critical times too. Right. So it's not nothing about, you know, a preeminence or nothing like that. Prominence, there's nothing like that. It's just the fact that their prophecies were short-winded, I guess.
And in this visualization with Gomer, right? Okay, so she's a prostitute. Hosea gets told by God to marry this woman, even though he's already seen who she, right?
That's a weird instruction.
Very.
Okay, think about the word, the hardest thing God has asked you to do.
Thought about it.
Crazy. You know, he's never asked you to marry a prostitute.
He's asked me to let go of addictions, to let go of
hard things.
Right?
The very hard things. I mean, me too. You know, not marry a prostitute. That to me is you know, hard. And because why? Because Hosea was a prophet of demonstration. You will never prophesy right. That's what Jehovah, the Lord, was letting Hosea know. You will never prophesy right if you don't feel what you feel.
And in this instance, it's a relationship between the admired and the admirer.
Exactly.
And who's the admirer?
The admired, it's obviously Gomer. Right. Gomer's the admired.
And Gomer represents the church, Israel, the people of God, are all in one.
All of us in one. Obviously, in that moment, it represented Israel.
Right.
But if you really
look at the context,
exactly. If you look at it right, it's really the story, the love story of Jesus and his bride. Right. And so we've prostituted our affections. We say he's enough, but we don't really mean that. You know, we need other things. We need alternatives. We need, just in case, bring that little guest prophet around. Just in case, let's put this paternity thing. Just in case, let me put a little blue check mark by my name because I need to be relevant before people. And so he stops being enough, and we turn into a Gomer, turn into a spiritual prostitute. It sounds bad. It's exactly what we turn into whenever our affection for him is deviated and he's no longer enough. It's just we need something else.
And time again, he comes to take us out of that corner that we're at, to clean us off, and to ready us again, and still we stray away.
Exactly. And that's the story of the gospel. That's what grace is for. Right. That is the gospel. The fact that we were spiritual prostitutes, I guess you can say, going with idols, going with finding third parties involved in our relationship with God, whether it be Catholicism, you know, Catholics, they use the Virgin Mary or any other type of saint. You know, Christians, you don't save yourself from this, you use your prophet or you use a minister. And so God stops being enough. And that's where the main focus of my message was. When do we start being unloyal to God? That's number one. When we stop being, if you look at it, God tells me verse 2, go marry a prostitute. Her name is Gomer. You know who she is. She's hot. I imagine, just get into the story. She was fine. She was there. And Prophet Hosea was like a nerd. Imagine, khakis, white shirt, button up all the way.
It says that she was a prostitute, not to be that kind of guy, but I don't think she'd have much business if she didn't have the looks around her.
Exactly.
And so Hosea was taught to bring to her. So it says that we also, right, Hosea is a prophet whom God uses to portray a message of repentance from God's people. Once we have this image in our head, a lot of people's questions is, okay, I realize God isn't enough for me. How can I make God enough? Is that something that's come from our power, or is it something that comes from the outside?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the same thing. Look, Jesus came to give us access back to Eden. That's all. Because why? Because he wanted to reinstate our relationship with God. He was going to the cross, resurrected, ascending to the Father, giving us forgiveness, redemption, resurrection, life, abundant. He was reinstating us into a good relationship. The Bible says into a good relationship and a good standing relationship with God. Look how crazy this is. It says that God loved us so much that he reconciled himself to us through Christ. That's how passionate he is for us. And so, anyway, the point is that how does God start being enough to me? It can't be an external power. It has to be something that you find internally once you're intimately connected with him. In Eden, think about Eden. That's all I was thinking about. Adam had no other need but to be with him. At some point, the enemy, like I kind of talked about, at some point the enemy comes in Eden, and what does he do? The first thing he does, he questions obviously the identity of Eve and Adam. Is it true that he says that if you eat this, that you'll be like him? They weren't already like him. So he comes and questions their identity, and you can only know your identity when you're in a relationship or an intimate, relationship with God. What does he come to do? In reality, the whole point of this, he doesn't care about the fruit, doesn't care about the banana, about the apple, about the pomegranate. Many people get into eschatological fights for this. It doesn't really matter what the fruit was. The point was that the enemy wanted to separate us from perfect community. And so that's where I'm trying to, or I try to, convey to the church, hey, the thing that the enemy is going to come to do, like he didn't need it, is to try to, unfocus you from the totality and the fullness that you have in him, and say, you need this, you need the apple on this fruit, the fruit on this tree, because he's not enough. Does that make sense? So that's the whole point of, that was his plan. That's his modus of operation. That's how he works. To get us separated from God, that's what he does. He's like, hey, you know what? God's not enough, so you need drugs. God's not enough, so you need alcohol. God's not enough, so you need X.
Right. And we fail to realize life, this is a very young person saying this, I'm only 23 years old, but we fail to realize life is only 70 years, 80 years if you're blessed, 90 years if God is really with you. 100 years if you honor your mother and your father, right?
120 according to the standard. 100 don't take care of our
standard. And so, right, what we do here on earth is all temporary. And in the end, we go back to when we came from. I've always looked at it like this, if I can take another approach, is while we were in, by the way, for a lot of people that don't know, when you come to the church, it's open arms. It's this family here, it's open arms. They're searching for people that are willing to come and to serve, to give their time, to get closer to God, to grow. And
we've made many mistakes. I mean, as a pastor, I'm just telling you, I'm being honest. I know many other, can I say the words? Chris, you gotta limit me if I can. But many other faiths will never admit that. Many other flaunters, especially like in the Fort Worth area, down up there.
The transparency to be able
they won't ever admit it. They gotta flash their watch at you to show you that they are a man of God or whatever. I can admit we've made mistakes.
There's the same.
But our hearts has always been in the right place.
Right.
At least, I know my dad. I know my heart. It's been in the right place. So what we do is exactly what you're saying. We know, or we can accept people with open arms because we know what it is to be received by him with open arms. And so, Chris, you know this. You know my life. You know who I am. You guys know. Anybody who shows up here, after service, nobody sees these things. You saw it. My kid was hungry. He was hungry. My wife was hungry. I stayed here for how many, an hour, 2? I don't know, I really don't know.
Enough time for my sister to tell me, man, I'm starving, let's go, right? But you're there with the people, those
because
that
I love
come to you. And,
love you.
Right. And a lot of people, they don't feel like they can really come, that they can really come with honesty and in full transparency to their pastor out of fear of getting rejected, out of fear of not being looked at or perceived a certain way.
And it does happen in other churches. It does.
And it pushes a lot of people away. Here, it's very different. I mean, one thing that I have said is how I've been with this church, with Mundo de Milagro y Fe. I've been here, but I haven't been here. Right, I've been around, but I haven't been involved. And you'd expect,
somebody that's seen the glory of God to but that's what happens to the people of Israel. Right, bro, they saw the cloud during the day. They saw the pillar of fire, and they still wanted a golden calf. Right. They still needed something else. It's a human nature to say, well, just in case, let me try to go around it, and you would expect, like your testament, you're crazy testament. God is doing crazy. I would love for you to tell people that are going to be hearing this, but that you'd be like congregating, being here. But here's the point. Obviously, to me, it kind of would piss me off sometimes. I would tell you, like, Mike, the heck, man.
No, you've had patience with me for the unlimited amount of patience that I've seen, and also my sister. A lot of people that have prayed. I mean, from the depths is where I've been pulled out of. Really, I don't look it, but I've been through situations where you don't expect a 19, 20, 21-year-old to be in, as far as selling narcotics, moving things across state borders, and being in this lifestyle of money and guns, and being connected to people who really you have no business being connected to. And how I always ended up here is something where I know, it's like what you said a long time ago, is that we're anchored to him. No matter where you run to, no matter how far you go, you are anchored to him. You will be brought back to him. And a lot of people, they fail to see that. A lot of people have been anchored, and they just keep running away, and eventually, how you said, eventually God takes that anchor off your foot, and he lets you go where you want to go, and you run into your own enemies, whom he knows they'll capture you, just like Israel, right? And so one thing that I did want to say was how also you've had a series where we talk about toxicity, and one thing that we talked about, you didn't get a chance to go much into, but how we're also toxic to ourselves at times. How
you told me to talk about it, remember?
Well, it was an idea that was interesting.
No, it's really good. You didn't say it. I mean, part 5.
I looked at it like this, right? I looked at it like this. A lot of people, whenever they have this animal, this dog that you've had since you were a kid, imagine Zara and Zion, beautiful dogs. They've had them for about 7-8 years now. Yeah. Right. A lot of people, they have this part of their family. It's an animal. It's a dog, not human, but it's very close. A relative that gets sick, and the vet tells them, look, it's not looking so well. We have to give them this much treatment, this specific things, and you make sure on the dot twice a day that you put it in his mouth, and you make sure that they chew it, that they swallow it, so that they can receive the help that they need. But when we turn the lens around to ourselves and we see, I'm depressed, I need help, but I can't reach out. No, I'll struggle through it.
I'll keep it.
Right? Or I'm going through this, or whatever it could be. We have that toxicity towards, we don't feel like we deserve it. Maybe my brother does, because that's my brother. And maybe my sister does, because that's my sister. But me, not so much. It's something that not a lot of people are open to talk about a lot, because it's a little bit...
How do you see yourself have been toxic to yourself?
Yeah, so me personally, it's always been this sense of, and I told you this a long time ago, a lot of people ask me, how come you've been around the family so much, the church, but you haven't really integrated yourself into serving? I mean, I'm confused. You're Selena's brother, right? You're your pastor's brother-in-law, but you haven't really gotten closer or gotten involved with church. And the main thing was that I didn't see myself good enough for it. And so I always told you, right? And when you would tell me, Mike, I was 19, 20, Mike, you need to come, because you've taught me how to play guitar. You need to come play, you need to come join, you need to come congregate. And I always told you, I can't right now. You didn't know why. You had an idea, but you didn't know why. I told you, I can't right now, because if I do, I have to be able to look at myself in the mirror and know that I'm good enough. And that's always kept me away. It's like, you're not good enough, you're still selling drugs. You're not good enough, you're still selling weed. You're not good enough. You're still doing what you're not supposed to be doing. And so it took a lot of breakdown, a lot of defeat, right, that to bring me to this stage. And a lot of times we don't realize that these trials and errors that we go through are a blessing towards us at the end, right? Just like Israel, just like the people, and just like us, even ministers and people at the top.
Yeah. I mean, the only way I can think of it is that, again, because this is not the Bible is not a book of rules all the way. There's laws to love, I guess you can say. Language to love. There's a lot of things that I guess you can say that if you follow those laws, they'll work in love, in a relationship. Right. This is not a book of rules. It's a love story. So look back to this. We always wait to be, or try to be, which we will never be. I'm a pastor, not be perfect, to come finally try to, hey Lord, here I am. I'm ready. I'm good to go now. I'm all oiled up. I got my pistons all ready. I'm all lubed up. I'm ready. I'm good to go.
Best condition
I'm ready to go. And it's just not true. Look at what the Bible says. On the contrary, it says that while we were still sinners, right, Jesus loved us, and He gave His life for us. How much in love do you have to be with this guy, with these people that are unloyal, that are Gomer? Good thing her name wasn't Homer. You get it?
I didn't get it that day, but I definitely got it. We put a lot of emphasis on the whole.
The whole, not Gomer. This is going to be on the comment section. You better bet it's going to be. But, you know, we've been that Homer. Right. Sure, we've been that Homer. Right. We've been that.
Unloyal.
Yeah, and so, again, it's a love story. It's a love story. So, but while we were still there, and that's how God shows us His love, because this relationship between the prophet Hosea and Gomer was, you know, obviously a depiction of what, you know, Israel was, how Israel was being unloyal to God. It's happening all through history. The biggest story I can think of is even the prodigal son. You know this story. Yeah, I think you remember records of, I told you one time, right when you were going through one of your processes.
One of the process, right?
Yeah, one of your processes. And so, you know, I sent you that song. But that story fascinates me not because I see you in it, because I see myself in it. Not because it's easy to see somebody else in that story. Right. I've been that prodigal son. And so what happens is he's writing a letter, or he's memorizing it. I have sinned. He's going to tell this to his father. Remember, he's blown through his money, through his inheritance, with harlots and with prostitutes, and he's lived an uncontrolled life.
Sleeping with the pigs.
He ended up sleeping with pigs. He was, you know, servant, literally turned into a slave, and eating the food of pigs. But then here's the point, and I think this is the point that we all need to have. It says in Luke 15 that he came to his senses. He came to himself. How do you say? How does it say that? I think it says something like that. It says he came back to his senses. He came back, and he's like, "Yo, in my father's house, the servers have plenty of food. They have a better life than what I do.
The people serving my father have it better than I have it now."
And so now, what does he do? Automatically starts the condemnation. He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go back home, but since I need to gather myself up."
He's preparing himself.
Yeah, just in case his father's gonna whoop him, or I'm thinking naturally. I give Diablo my money, my hard-earned money, inheritance. Because remember, when he told his father, "Give me my inheritance," when do you receive an inheritance? When the father's dead. So what is he telling his father? You're living, but I would rather you be dead. You're dead to me. Give me my money.
Looking more at what he can receive than who his father is.
So he literally slaps his dad in his face. Right. And his father is gracious. He's like, "You know what? You're right. This is yours." One part of the story that we missed, that I'm going to preach on later on, is that he didn't only give his inheritance to the prodigal son, he gave it to the older brother too. Yeah. So the older brother didn't just not have money. No, he got his part too. You can read it later on. Anyway, the point is this, that he's rehearsing this in his mind. He's like,
worst case scenario, at least to be able to pay back the money that he received.
Exactly. Hey, Dad, he knows it was a lot of money. He's like, nah, I don't know. So I'm just going to rehearse this thing. Father, I have sinned against you, and I've sinned against the heavens, and I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. And he's rehearsing, Father, and he's on his way. He's on his way back. And this is where I've seen myself. That's what I'm telling you.
Before he can even utter those words.
Exactly.
His father
so he's on his way back. He's rehearsing. He's ready, and he's about to say it. He's like, Father, I have sinned against you, and I've sinned against the heavens, and I am no longer. And the father didn't even give him time to finish, where he was already on his neck kissing him. The Bible says that he kissed him once, or that he kissed him. The original scripts say that he wouldn't stop kissing him. Hefsiba. It's a passion. It's a father's feeling. My son is back home. Our relationship is back.
Restored.
And it's restored. And so, what does he do? Gets him a new sandals. Gets him a new wardrobe. Remember, Mike, he was sleeping with the pigs. He was dirty. He was filthy. He didn't think about it. Me, I'm a germaphobe. I would probably be like, Didi, go shower. I'm probably going to smack him in his face a couple of times, and then you come back, I'll kiss you all you want. No, he's so passionate. What am I trying to tell you? Because you were running, and you would tell me that. You know, I can't right now because I know what I got to let go of. Yeah. Well, just come and let the Father redress you. Right. That's what I would always try to tell you. Come, let the Father put some new sandals on your feet. And it's the same thing for anybody listening right now. You know, you might find yourself far away from God, or you think you're far away from God. The Father is waiting for you to just come back home. Don't wait to be all old up, to have your axe on, to have your cologne on. You might have just came back from sleeping with pigs and wasted all your inheritance, literally denied God. And you're rehearsing that script. Father, I've sinned against you and against the heavens, and I'm not worthy to be called your son. And he's going to stop you and interrupt you. He's going to say, leave that out. And he's not going to stop kissing you. Because he's passionate for you. He wants that relationship. So, again, it goes back to the same thing. We'll probably start wrapping up, but it's not a book of rules. In the book of, if you see the Bible as a book of rules, I started seeing it as I got closer to him as breaking his heart. That's totally different. So, it's one thing to break a rule. It's another thing to break his heart. And so, I think that's where everything will change. If you just make that shift. If anybody listening makes that shift, stop seeing it as just breaking a rule. You're breaking his heart. Breaking a rule, like many Christians or many, religious people see it, it's based on fear. The other one's based on love. That one works. Fear, COVID was based on fear. People start hearing about rumors of war. What did Jesus say? You will hear rumors of war, and then what? You will hear about plagues, you will hear about sickness, you will hear about all this. Brothers will lift up against each other, but it's not the end. That's what he said. It is not yet the end. What is the first thing that idiots, because that's what they are, do? They hear about the war in Israel. It's the end! Repent! And yes, we have to repent. And yes, those are signs of what it means that Jesus is coming or whatever. But Jesus said it, you will hear it, and it's not the end. But you see what fear does? Fear puts us into this vicious cycle that says, stay in fear, stay here, stay here, stay here. So what does love do? It gets you out of that cycle. So it's different. Breaking a rule is based on fear. Breaking his heart is based on love. I would never want to do anything to break my wife's heart. That's how I see that, and that's how we have to see it. That's how the Bible relates. That's what this whole series is about. That our relationship with him is how he pictured it as how my relationship is with my wife. That's how we are connected to him.
And through this series, really, you've been reaching a lot. From everyone, from the youth who aren't yet in a marriage to the families that may have felt they have already been broken over, that something is irreversible, to say no, to stand up and to fight for what is theirs, because like you said, God loves battle. He loves to war. He loves
to fight for what's his.
He loves to fight for what's his.
I mean, look at what happened. It was something very interesting. Hamas, the group Hamas, they go and They invade Israel. Obviously, Afghanistan backs up. Not everyone, because there's groups, the Sunnis, the Shiites.
Shiites. It's a very symbolic invasion, as well as 50 years exactly on that day was Yom Kippur. Basically, it's the first time that, and it's funny that we bring it back up, Syria and Egypt invaded. And so
that's what I'm saying. That's his beloved. And he loves, I'm going back to what you said, he loves fighting for what's his. Hours later, how many people did they kill starting off?
In the first one or the second one?
The first one.
About 200 to 300.
Okay, and the second one?
The second time, it was...
We don't know. It was more. Let's say it was a maximum 1,000, right?
Right.
Okay, 1,000 on those two invasions. Hours after they invaded, Afghanistan suffers a huge 6.7 magnitude earthquake that kills, to start, we don't know, there's probably more, 2,400, 500 people. God, why? Not because, and I'm not saying that Afghanistan is, evil people. They're not. There's, like I said, there's groups to this. There's some Muslims that don't have nothing to do with Hamas.
Very, very spiritual thing that's going on, that's manifesting in the physical.
God's fighting forces.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. I feel it. That's why I even want to tear up, because I know how he feels. He loves to speak.
What's even stranger, and I'm saying this because we're based out of Dallas, right, is that a couple days, I think 2 days ago exactly.
Don't talk about the Cowboys lost.
Not that one was the 4.2 magnitude earthquake that happened. I think it was 4.2 or 3.2 magnitude earthquake that happened here in Texas. And we're not a state that's used to the earthquakes at all, but that happened, and a lot of signs that are coming up. Something that's very interesting. How it's going to turn out, really, there's no answer to it. But we do know that God prevails through all, right?
So that's basically what the whole point of the sermon was on Sunday. That we are God. Hosea is in representation of God. He needs to feel what God feels to be able to prophesy correctly to the nation. And so when he prophesies, the story doesn't end like many would want it to end. She was sold into slavery. There was a lot of things that happened. I didn't even have, remember, she had children. Lord Ruama.
There's a quick pause that happened there, and an Amber Alert that popped up.
An Amber Alert that popped up. Thank God put his hand in that. So, but yeah, so the story ends in redemption. That's what the whole point is. That he, I have it here on my notes, where he said in Hosea chapter 2, verse 19. Let me find it real quick.
Yeah, while you're searching that, it's something that a lot of, even people in the church, I know a lot of people outside of the church, but even people in the church where they feel that, you may not feel like you're enough, you may not feel like you're redeemable, you may not feel as if you're even wanted. I've been with many members here at the New Light Fan. They told me, or they have told me before in the past that, I haven't been
special
close. No, just a couple.
Just a couple.
But they've told me how interactive it is here, and it's a family. It's very great to see.
Yeah. So Hosea chapter 2, verse 19.
Yeah.
Here's where it goes, and it says, "I will betroth." That's a very strong word, which I didn't get time to get into, but we will eventually. "I will betroth you to me forever." This is why he's so jealous of what's going on right now.
Sounds like a strong word, betroth.
Betroth. I'm going to separate you to myself. God's a jealous God. One of his names is, we know Jireh.
Right.
We know Nisi. Right. We know Adonai, El Shaddai. We know all those names. We forget about God. Jehovah Kana.
Really?
That means Jehovah, the jealous one. He's jealous for his people.
Right.
And a holy jealousy, obviously, not a toxic one.
That's the only way. It's the closest we as humanity can perceive that word.
That word. He's just so passionate for us. That's what.
And so he says to separate.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, "I will betroth you to me forever. I'll separate you from me forever." I will betroth you in righteousness and justice, in love and compassion. Verse 20. I will betroth you in faithfulness, and you will acknowledge the Lord. In that day I will respond, declares the Lord. I will respond to the skies, and they will respond to the earth. And the earth will respond to the grain, and the new wine, and the olive oil. And they will respond to Jezreel, which means Jehovah, or the Lord has planted. And then verse 23. I will plant her for myself in the land, and I will show my love to the one I call not my loved one. I will say to those I call not my people, you are my people, and they will say, you are my God. That's all this story is about.
That's us.
That's us.
That's us that he's talking about.
So we were scattered. Jezreel means God planted, but another word for it is God scattered, which the people of Israel were scattered
all around before World War II until they can actually unite and have settlements. And that's a whole other story. So
that's where it touches the people of Israel. Jezreel. Remember, you have to study Hebrew in order to know it, but they're in the Hebrew language. They're very similar. Jezreel, Israel. So I will, which means scattered. It means planted.
Right.
And so then it says, I will plant her for myself in the land, and I will show my love to the one I called not my loved one. I will say to those I called not my people, you are my people. And they will say, you are my people. So
I think this is something that we should, whatever you have next planned up or in line, it's something to where it shows this love story. This is one perspective of it. There are 66 more, I believe, right?
Oh, there's many more. It was not a popular, I guess you could say, story. I've never preached on it. That was my first message ever on Prophet Hosea. But and going the story of Gomer, the beautiful story of redemption. And so, you know, I think it's just a call and I guess you could say an exhortation to the people of God to say, hey, He loves you. You have, I forgot to touch on that right now, but then we'll finish with this. But Gomer means complete, means perfect. In the second, she's a prostitute. It starts with a B, but it's not perfect. Right? She's a prostitute. How is she complete? It starts with another C, but I'm not gonna say that one. It starts with a C, but it's not that. It can't be that. It's because she had everything at home, just like the people of God do. They have everything in Him. And so that's one of the things that we need to understand, that Jesus Christ is our fullness. He's all that we need. He is everything. And so that's the point of all the message was to get into people saying, God is enough for you. You aren't enough for God. He loves you. And this story is about redemption. It's not to just point out that you're prostituted, that your affections are prostituted, and you're disgusting, you're scattered, and whatever. No, that's not the point of the story. That's part of the story. And that's one thing that made me part of your story. It's not the end of the story.
The end of the story is
it ends in redemption. That's all.
And that's why it's extremely important to always remember, church, congregate. Yes. We're always, Pastor Nick is always finding ways to really open our eyes, or to help open our eyes and show us what the perspective of God is. We're not just the people that come, have a Sunday ritual, and then go back home, right? We may have gotten used to it. The world is much more modern today than it was before, but there's still ways to find that relationship that we've had with them that we were destined for.
So I'd like for you to pray for people that are going to be watching this. First of all, the Bible.
Yeah.
Tell them, hey, when our services are.
Again, lots of you. So our aim, and me as a person who's been through what I've been through, I've always reached out to youth primarily. I've always found that the youth is the future. We are the future as far as God's kingdom come. Everyone else, always, there's space for everyone, no matter what your past has been, or what you may feel like you aren't able to, or what you are able to come. Don't wait till you're clean. Don't wait till The services are Thursday, I believe, 7:30, and Sundays they're 10 a.m. Yes, sir. I forget a little bit about that.
We're doing once a month in the afternoon.
And I really like this Sunday recap. It's something where we can go a little bit more in depth. Sometimes get sidetracked, and it's always nice to have.
I mean, there was things that I couldn't touch on Sunday that we're touching on here.
And to go a little bit more in depth to get an idea with Pastor Nick himself.
Yeah, it's a privilege. I love doing this. I love having a conversation about the Word of God. I said it on Thursday. I love His Word. And I'm passionate. I think that's one of the things that this generation needs to get passionate about is the Word of God and presence. And I think that's one of our main goals to be able to show the youth and everyone that we can talk about this beyond Sunday. It's not just a Sunday message where I'm screaming at my church the whole time. It's a dialogue. It's an interaction we can have about the message.
So what I liked, I think it was about 3 Sundays ago, we went to, Sunday was over, we went to go watch a football game, Cowboys, right? They won, it was a fun night. And then after that, do you remember which one? And then after that, it just suddenly turned into a house of faith with the family that was hosting it. We had a great conversation. Chris was there, Nick was there, Amy was there.
I didn't say nothing though. And you were the preacher.
It was all-inclusive. We touched on many subjects, from people's testimonies there to UFOs, to the government, because really this is all what's happening. It's happening. It's here. It's now. It's very interesting, but to never lose sight of God who has control at the end of it all.
So we invite you guys Thursday 7:30 p.m., Sundays at 10 a.m., and we're going to pray to dismiss tonight. And to pray for you, that if you feel like you are that Gomer or you're far away from God, you need to take those steps. Reach out to us, send us a DM on all of our social media, which is MDMY Dallas Campus on Instagram and on Facebook as Mundo de Milagro y Fe, so that we can help you and walk you through this journey of this relationship that God wants to have. He's passionate about you, and He wants to be in a right relationship with you. So while you pray for us, dismiss us, and it'll be until the next Sunday recap with someone else.
Yes, sir. Just a quick prayer. Father God, thank you for giving us this time to unite, to spread your word, to reach people across digital forms, and so that maybe be able to come and to congregate in person or online, whichever one, to get closer to you, to find you, to seek your heart, to know and have this relationship with you personally, Lord, and to really grow in this kingdom that you are building, Lord. In your name I pray. Thank you for this time, and God bless everyone out there.
Amen. We love y'all. See y'all next week.